So today I'm coming to talk about our health and our environment, because our environment affects our health, how we think, because there's certain things in our body that goes on when you are in environments that is full of stress, because the people in the environment makes up the environment. So if you have a negative environment, you have to look at the psychology of the people in that environment, and then what controls and influences that environment. So we're going into pathology, we're going into psychology, but first let me just say this. When you take a polar bear out of its natural habitat, right, which is a cold habitat, it becomes aggressive, it becomes stressed. The cortisol inside of that animal builds up because it's not used to the environment or the new environment that has been placed in. So when you study the biochemical structure of certain people in America, right, and I'm going to touch on healing as well, because healing cannot be manifested through certain diseases if you are in environments that are stressed. But I'm going to get back to that. As human beings, when we are closer to the equator, our brain matter loosens up, right? But when we get further away from the equator, our brain matter starts to become more hardened. It becomes more build up, more thicker. And when the brain matter becomes more thicker, this allows certain intelligence in the body to take in proper information from that environment, which is beneficial to the biochemical structure of these people. The obesity rate in America is high because the people who are in America are further away from the equator. You may ask, well, what does this have to do with being away from the equator? Well, as I said before, when you are away from the equator, your brain mass, or the matter in your brain, becomes hardened. And when your brain matter becomes hardened, this builds up cortisol in the body, right? And this causes stress signals to be sent to the gut. And when stress signals is in the gut, the food that you are ingesting in America is not breaking down properly. The digestive system is not able to break down the enzymes in the food properly because your brain matter is more thicker and more hardened, and this causes stress signals to build up in the body, which comes from the cortisol. If you look at people in the East, right, just study their anatomy. They are more smaller, and they eat the same thing that the people here in America eat, but yet they don't gain that much weight. This is because they are closer to the equator. Their brain matter is more loose. And when the brain matter is loose, the cortisol rate is lower. Stress signals is not in the gut. The equator influences the DNA of the biochemical structure. And they don't teach you this in school, because this is what they use to control the world. Americans are high in obesity because they are further away from the equator. Their brain matter is hardened. When you have a hardened brain, this makes the person hardened, more aggressive. Crime rates go up, right? Disease go up, as we can see. And this is why people with cancer and diseases should be closer to the equator, because the melanocytes, which creates that high form of carbon, which we call melanin in the body, that everybody has, is just that we all have different types and levels of carbon, which we call melanin, right? It gives off a certain undertone to the environment. And so being that you have these undertones connected to your environment, this makes you a part of the environment that you are in. So if America is a chaotic environment, then your body is taking in chaotic energy. And this causes cortisol to build up in the body, stress to build up in the body. When you are taking in food and you get stress in the body, the food is not going to break down properly, because that vagus nerve that's connected to the frontal lobe and the brain stem inside of the brain, right? And I said that the brain is what? More hardened away from the equator. That's going to send stress signals back to the gut from the brain, and now it's going to influence your behavior. Chemical imbalances is going to occur inside of the body. So where we are located, when you study the tectonic plates of the earth, right? And when you study the equator, we don't supposed to be here at certain seasons. We're supposed to be navigating from the east to the west. We don't supposed to stay in the west year round. Our bodies are not made to stay in the west year round. We're supposed to navigate to the east as well to create balance inside of the biochemical structure. so that the brain can be hardened in certain seasons and can be softened in certain seasons. This will fluctuate the chemical imbalances. This will allow the defense mechanisms in the body to sleep and awaken and do their job and do what they need to do to push out foreign pathogens, to push out foreign bacteria and obligate intracellular parasites and obligate intracellular viruses that thrive to change your DNA, because during certain seasons, your DNA, what it does is it processes certain enzymes, which has information in it that is thrown out from the soil. So the closer you are to the equator, these enzymes can properly break down and give you the intelligence that you need for your DNA to upload properly when you come back to the west. So that way, when it goes to sleep and lay dormant during certain seasons, you go back to the east, it'll upgrade again to be able to give you a stronger defense mechanism, whether it be your lymphatic or your immune system, for you to navigate back and forth. We don't supposed to be living in the west 365 days out of the year. This damages the defense mechanisms in the body. Our brain is hardened 365 days out of the year. So therefore, you will shoot up in weight and become obese. And this is why America leads in the rate of obesity. Something to think about. Peace.